Hi everyone, it's Nat here. Hope you're all doing well. I'm on to continue on with the 5-tag book following along a process video by the lovely Tracy Fox, which I will link the playlist for it down below in case you want to give it a go. So we ended off with our three collaged pages here. So the next thing I have to do is cut my tag corners. So I don't have a business card that I've cut corners off of as a template, so I just grabbed a bit of card to do it with. It's a nice thick card, this. The picture of a ballerina, I've got, I don't know, about 50 of these, so I thought it won't hurt if I use one for this. So I will fold this in half. Just debating whether I can use these, might be a bit easier, although I'm not used to using them. Let's see. So what we want to do is use that to show us where we want to cut. I always cut them crooked. Don't ask me how I manage that. Oh, maybe the board itself is crooked. So I'll line up the top like that. Now let's see how these go. Because I'm left-handed, I do struggle a bit. Maybe I shouldn't. Whether I should use my normal scissors. Oh, no, they work good. So then we'll turn it over like that. And line it up with the top again. And do this. These are some Fiskars cutters that my daughter got me. So they're a bit more heavy duty and they're spring. I've got a spring in them too, so they're really great to use. So that's cut our tag shape for us. So we'll do that with the other two. Okay, so that's our tag shapes done, which is great. So while the front cover dries, I've got the back cover here. Now I have written on there BC, so I think this is the back cover and that's the back cover inside page. I'm not sure how this goes together, so I'm just trusting what I'm watching. So we'll cover these. Now, watching Tracy, she made the back cover pieces a little more interesting than the front cover, but I'm a bit short. It's funny, I'm short on picture bits and pieces, which is hilarious because I've got that many books, but I don't want to rip up anything just for this project at this point because the idea was for me to use up some of my scraps. So I did pull out just a few little ones here that we might be able to work with. So I'll start by putting a base of my plainer pieces on. Now I don't have any more of the Uncle Tom's Cabin. Hang on, here's a tiny, oh that's a tiny bit. Let's fix my light up. Just see if I've got any more because I want that specific text running through it if I can. There we go, there's a nice big piece. Got some packaging paper there. Right. So I might be able to just cut this so I can put a bit on both pages. And let's utilise this piece. So that was the cover. So I might whack this down. Okay, so I think that'll do for the back. It kind of needs something else there, but I can't tell at the moment. Well, oh, I didn't pull that up far enough either. Oh well, we will fix it up with something later too. So I should wear my glasses. I can see just a little bit of the card there, but it doesn't matter. So I'm going to leave that. I think I'll be able to see better what it's like once I've trimmed the edges, but I'll wait for it to dry to do that. So what I'm going to do is put these down on my paper, get all the crumbs off of it. I put them down like that, and I'm going to put something heavy on top and just let them flatten out while it dries, and then I'll be back. So it's the next day now. I put these facing down under something heavy just to flatten them out overnight, and then I trimmed around the edges. So this is the front and back cover panels, and I did write BC, which you could probably hardly see in pencil on this one, and then FC, so I know that this one's the front cover, that this one's the back cover, and they go that way up. So the next thing I need to do is cut these into tags as well. So I've got my little card there, I've got my scissors. I think it was the top that I lined up last time because it's a bit crooked down this way. And then I just trim that, and it goes flying everywhere. So now I've got that one ready. Okay, so they're both ready now. I'll just put those away, clean up my triangles. Now the next thing I wanted to do was show you the pages that I got from the Foxy rag that I want to use with this. Now I think I said that it was I thought it was number 7, but it's number 8 of the Foxy rag, which is available on Tracy's Etsy, which is Love Junk Journal. So I printed out these 2 pages, and I just love them. They're gorgeous. So I've got these really big ones, and there's some words there as well, and then we've got these smaller ones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to head off camera and cut these out, and then we'll come back and start getting, I think we have to make another tag, a smaller one, and start getting some pockets ready. So I cut out all my squirrels, and I've chosen the one that I want on my front cover and this label as well. I also cut 2 bits of my card. It's the packaging that I use to make my tags. I'm using the offcuts of that. And I cut the card about the same size as my squirrel picture, the 2 lots of that. I've also cut this little bit of packaging to make a tag. Now I know that Tracy embellished the front with a tag that she added some backing to give it some height. So I'm going to do something similar with my picture, but I think what I'll do is make a little gap behind my picture that I can slip a tag into, just for something a little different. So that's the plan. Let's see if we can make it work. So that's the front, and I know that because I wrote FC. I've got to keep reminding myself because it folds that way, so it's easy to think this is the front. So now I'm thinking I'll just ink around these. So I've got my walnut stain here. It's nice and dark. I might even just give it a little bit of, just dirty it up a bit. Then I'll just go in a little bit. Just adding some bits that look like dirt. Why not? Okay, so now what I think I want to do is I might ink the edge of this too, just so it doesn't stand out too much. Just trying to get the edges darker so that if we look at the tag side on, we don't notice the brightness of it. So then what I'm going to want to do is stick this onto there like that. So we will do that. And I think I will use my fabric glue, Helmer's fabric glue for this, just because I know it's not going to buckle or anything like the wetter glues do, so I don't have to worry about putting something on it to flatten it out afterwards. Oops, and I'm getting it all over myself, as long as I don't get it on the front of my picture is the main thing. That should do. So try and get it onto this card evenly. I think I might have done that pretty good. Spread the glue. All right, so that will just really reinforce it nicely. Next thing I want to do is cut a little groove to fit our tag in. So what I think I will do is, we want the tag, I think this will be about here. I was going to have a bit lower, but I think it would be good to sort of cover this line here a bit. So if we put it about like that, that should work. And then our tag's going to stick up a little bit, about that much, I reckon. So about 1 centimetre or so above here. We want it about even distance, so it's sort of in the middle. We want to give it a bit of leeway too, so I'm going to trace around my tag, if I can, without moving it, would be good. It's meant to be out in the garden, but I'm just exhausted. Went for a 2-hour there and 2-hour back drive yesterday, and I got home and stayed up late and that, thinking I'd be really tired, and I wasn't. But I am today, so could have slept all day, so no gardening for me. Hopefully I'll get a whole heap done on the weekend. So now what I want to do is cut out this shape, and I want to leave like 1 millimetre or 2 gap so that the card has a little bit of wiggle room. So what I will do is grab a ruler, a nice thick metal one, and I've got my craft knife here, box knife, whatever you call them. So as I said, I do want to leave 1 millimetre or 2, so I might do it over this side so I can see that I'm leaving that little gap. And then I'll turn it around and do this side, leaving that 1 millimetre or 2 again. I don't know if I've gone all the way through. I was going to say, if not, I'll just go over it again afterwards. And turn it that way so I can see the lines. And we'll just do I mean, this could be pretty well spot on, but a little bit extra won't matter there. All right. Now I'll just go down here carefully. And that should pop out in a minute. There we go. So I can use that to make another tag afterwards. I could have used that to make the tag that slips in here, but I've got a funny feeling this might be a bit thinner. It's hard to tell because we'll embellish this, which is going to make it thick, and I don't know if it's going to fit in then. We will make it fit, won't we? So this will basically stick on top of that, and then this has to fit in. Now that's where the issues might be, but I'm thinking I just won't be able to put much on this, but that's all right. We should be able to make it work, shouldn't we? Yeah. So now I've got to stick this on like that. If worse comes to worse, I'll just have to make a tag out of paper to slip in. It's a bit thinner. But it's always good to try something a bit different anyway. A knife away. So we'll stick these two pieces together. I might stick the glossy sides together. Now, before I do that, I will ink the edges of this as well, so it goes with the other piece nicely. There'll be a knock on the door soon. My son wants his Hungry Jacks as usual, and it's been quite hot the last few days, so it makes me want one of their ice creams, which is probably not a good thing. Because you can get toppings on them, and I go for all the toppings because one's just not enough. And make sure we've got it up the right way. It'd be a dilemma if we stick this on the wrong way. Yes, I had fun on my drive yesterday, driving out the country. I went whoop whoop, as we say. Okay, so now we'll stick this on top, or on bottom, technically. Turn over and make sure that none of the bits are sticking out. I think that's looking pretty good. So it slips in all right at the moment. I was going to do 2 layers, but then it would stick up, which wouldn't matter too much, but I think that's enough. Now I'm tempted to, oh yeah, we're possibly going to sew this too, but now I've got those 2 layers on. The sewing machine might work. Better do that before I get ahead of myself. We've got this piece, which we also want to give some height to, not with our tag though. You can get yourself in so much trouble, can't you? Especially when you're on camera, because you're so busy talking and that you don't know what you're doing. So that's going to be like that. And then I'm thinking of putting this on like that. So we want a bit of height on that. So I stopped because the Hungry Jacks came. So I went and had a few chips, and my son sacrificed a couple of his nuggets. And while I was sitting there thinking, I realised I did a little bit of a boo-boo, but I hope it's still going to work out all right, because I did want to sew around this. and I'd already stuck these bits on, and this one is higher than the middle bit, and I thought it might be a bit of a problem for sewing, but the sewing went okay, but you sort of worry that it squished this down a bit more, and with the stitches as well, it might impede the ability for our little tag to slip in. But as I always say, we will make it work. So I've sewn around that. I just did straight stitch and then a little bit of zigzag. And then while I was at it, I sewed around this before I put any backing on it, just so I didn't have a similar issue. So, and I have got my twine, my leftover pieces of cotton that I cut off in case I want to use them in embellishing. So I will grab my little scissors. I don't know if I want any bits hanging out, but I don't want any of the front bits, I know that much. So I'll chop them off. Probably won't have any hanging out. Can always add some if I want. So I'll put them on in my little pile of scrappies to keep as well. So that's that done for now. Now, with this one, I want it sort of half on and half off a picture piece here. So I'll probably do 2 levels again of my cardstock underneath. So I'll grab this I've cut, which looks plenty big enough. I'll cut one piece that covers the whole area. So again, I might just... doesn't have to be exactly, but I'm just going to trace around it. And just to make sure that it is, yes, I am videoing. I had an issue the other day where I missed a whole lot because I hadn't switched it on, or it was on and I switched it off instead of switching it on, because I'm good. And we'll chop this out. Then we want another piece, which goes about halfway. So if I put this onto there and do a rough about there, will work. Now I better do the length as well, hadn't I? About there. And I will just use this and take a line down. Because it's going to be underneath. If it's too crooked, a bit crooked, it's not going to matter too much. So just winging it. That looks pretty good. So what we'll have is something like that, so that when we've stuck our picture down, that will sit underneath and this will sit on top. Although our picture's double height, isn't it? So we actually need 2 of these. Good thinking, 99. So what I'll do is just lay that on top. I mean, you don't have to do this. I just figure it gives it a lot more stability so it doesn't get squished. Okay, try that again. So this will sit like that. This will sit on top of those and the card. And then a little title will sit. And that gives it a bit of height from the card, but it also stabilises the base a bit. Still not quite high enough, but it'll do. It'll do. So again, I'm going to want to ink the edges of some of this. So I might stick these pieces together first. It's very naughty of me having chippies and having an ice cream later. But my son said if I'm still up at 10 o'clock, which I'm sure I will be, we have to go for a walk because he'll only walk when it's dark. So we have to go for walks at like 10 when the mozzies are out. And anyway, it's a nice time to go, especially on these hot days. Just going to trim this corner bit. All right, that's pretty good. And then this one's going to stick on top of that, but we'll put our little label on first to make sure it's all fitting all right. Make sure that we've cut it. I think we need to take just a tad off of one of the ends. And we do need to ink, so we have to ink the whole edge of this part. And then with this, we just have to ink, I think that's straight, so we'll ink the bottom if we can, and the edges. Now, the other thing is we might have to cut one of these edges down a bit too. It's better. Not get much ink in there. I don't think we're going to look at the bottom much, so. Alright, so now we can stick our squirrel on there. So cute. Oh. That's just a bit crooked there. It's a bit better. Doesn't matter if it shows a bit because of the ink, it still looks really cool. Okay, so now I can stick that. Yeah, that's going to look good. Onto there. Looks pretty good. I'll just clip it on for a minute. So we'll just leave that to dry for a bit. Goody goody, got something done. Now, I haven't watched enough to see if we end up sewing around all these pages, but I'm assuming we do because a lot of people would glue stick them. So I'm not going to stick it to the front just yet because I did not see that being done yet. Just trying to find my tag. That's what we have to do. We have to embellish our tag in some fashion. So far, it's fitting all right though. So that's going to be cool. As I said, we definitely don't want to do too much thick embellishments on the front. Got this fella too that I just found. He's just about the right size to go on there. I might cut him out. So that's our little ground squirrel. He's so cute. Now it's just how is he going to look? It doesn't look too bad. About that much is going to be sticking up, I think. We get the tag all the way in. Yeah, it's going to be pretty well perfect. I think we'll just use him. So we should keep the blank side for writing on, and that way I won't have to stick any backing to it, which will keep it thin as well. We can just ink around it. We've got to chop off some of one side. We might just chop off a bit of both so we can centre him nicely. And we want to get the top sort of flush with the top here. That is the plan. So I don't know about sewing around this one either. We will see how it fits in. But it can definitely do with some form of tab. It's looking pretty good. Yep. So now we're just going to cut this excess off. Isn't he cute? And we might cut it as a tag shape, just, yeah, I think that would look better if we do. Whether we'll do it as big as this, I think we might do it a bit smaller. Although that fits all right, but it'll make the top really thin. Let me just... Now what I'm going to do is a line, I think. Because if I hold it there and cut it, it always ends up really crooked. Not crooked, but not even with the other side much. If I do it like that, I might have half a hope. If I can see my line. There, that looks pretty good. So there's our little tag. Now this should be well and truly dry. Okay. So it will be like that. That's great, actually. It's nice and sturdy. If it gets some pressure on it, it's not going to warp. So that'll be great. And then a little fella here will slip in. Oh, that's great. Slip in like that. So we'll find a nice, I think, a little fabric tab or something to, that we'll probably just sew the fabric tab on. That'll do as far as sewing goes for him. So let's ink around him. And find my fabric scraps. I've got my newly sorted scrap fabric bin, which I am loving so much better than what I had before. But I do have to remember where things are, so I think it's under here. No, but this has pieces I can use. Like, that's quite dark. Let's have a look. That'd be all right though. Easy. See, that's why you organise things, Nat. You can find things. Okay, so I've got this. Oops. It's nice and frayed, isn't it? How big do we want it? I mean, that works. It's a bit too long on this frame. That's probably a bit better. All right, now. Just going to put a tiny tad of glue on to hold it. Quite thin fabric, so I definitely don't want too much glue. That will do. Now let that dry and then I'll go and sew that as well. Might keep this in with my other scraps in case we use it elsewhere. And I'll just move. I've always got to look at everything before I chuck it in the bin, just in case it's got something I like, and I don't mind the little beetle. And I might cut this ground squirrel's rest in burrows out just in case we decide to use the words. He would look really cute sewn around, wouldn't he? Might have to do it and live with the consequences. Okay, so here's our little tag. I did the deed and sewed around it. I wasn't sure, I couldn't really see when I come up to here how far the tag went up here to sew, and I wasn't sure if I grabbed it or not, so I went back and forth a couple of times. But I've got a funny feeling I was very close to the edge there, so I'm sort of glad I did. Let's just trim these bits off. Bit of a mess at the back there, but that's all right because I went back and forth to finish it. Right, so I reckon it'll just slide in quite nicely like that once we've got it all stuck down. That looks great, actually. The green up here, I was a bit worried about how it looked, but the green up there actually goes with the green down here. Now, I know that in Tracy's, what number video is it that we are watching? Number 3 for the Creating a Tag Book with No Kit. She made some labels with her stamps and with her label stamps and some other stamps that she put words and numbers in the middle of them. Now, I'm too lazy to do that, but I do have some of her labels printed out. So I grabbed out the Randomly Sciencey Labels 2 and the Nature Definitions. Yeah. So I'll probably use some of them. But for the moment, I did find this one that says Woodland, which I thought was really cool. And I'm debating just whacking it under, I was thinking about there. So I just want to stick it so that the corner there sits quite nicely. Now, I know that we're not meant to be ink and everything, but I feel like I have to put a little bit of ink just to get the white edges off where it's been cut, because it is very white. that down. About there, I think. Will do. It's not on straight, but I sort of want it straight with the text, or else it'll look weird. Just rubbing the glue off. So that will be that. Let's just choose this. That works nicer, doesn't it? I'm just going to put it down here because I can. Yeah, that'll do. I don't know if we're going to see it much, but that's all right. Still adds a bit of interest, doesn't it? I'll see it a little bit. Not enough though, so it probably wasn't a good idea. The idea was to put something sort of down there more. Just got to try and make sure I get it where I want it, which is hard. I think it goes there, like that. Oh, now this takes forever to dry too, so we'll leave that to dry. So the last thing that I want to do is, I'm pretty sure Tracy did ink around the edges of her tags. I know she didn't ink the stuff she put on them, but she did ink around the edges, and I think that would definitely make it look a lot better. So I'm going to go around the edges as I do each page, I think. My nice walnut stain. I love how dark this is. Beautiful. All right, so I will be on again soon with the next part. I figure I might as well try and do all of this on camera. It'll probably take me forever, but whoever's got patience or just needs some background drivel to listen to while they're crafting away can follow along with me. So take care of yourselves. Try not to stress about life in general, and stay well, and I'll see you soon. Bye.